guys. So today, I took the car out. Um, just regular. I didn't do. I mean, I did do some crazy shit, but, but I basically got it up to temperature. I took it out on the highway. I drove it, probably 30 miles, and I noticed that the oil pressure was just lower than what it was when it first started, which obviously when you start the car has shit ton of oil pressure. But as the oil gets hot, and mind you, this is just cheap break-in oil, as it got hot, it got thinner, and then the oil pressure started dropping on me. Nothing like, like, oh shit, it's at 4 psi. I still had like about 16 psi on idle, and around 45, 50 above 3,000 RPMs, which is still within spec of a 2JZ oil pump. But I didn't like that too much. Seeing as when I first started the car, it was bumping out like 80 psi, and as the oil got hot, it just plummeted. So uh so right now we're doing a test. Since I'm doing a test, I'm doing a test. I put a new oil filter in. I drained the oil, and now I'm gonna put some 2050. Now 2050 I didn't want to put in because the oil clearances are just a little bit bigger than stock. They're not a big oil clearance, but they're not a stock oil clearance either. So I thought that I could get away with putting 10W30 in it, but I think once it drops down and it breaks down, the oil just doesn't have enough to keep oil pressure up. So I was gonna go with a 1040 racing oil, but that's one of those things that to get that you have to order it, because 1040 racing oil they don't have it at a local AutoZone or Advance. You have to order it. You have to have it ordered. You have to have it on hand. And even though I was using Brad Penn oil, which I still had to order, it was one of those things that it's like, all right, 1030 I was able to have. So I was going to put some of the Brad Penn in it, a Brad Penn 1030 in it, just to see if it was just that the oil was just cheap and it just broke down way too fast. But I just didn't like that feeling of having really low oil pressure. So what I did was I went ahead and I got myself some Valvoline VR1 2050. So now when it gets hot, I'm not worried about cold starts, because this car is mostly going to be driven in the summertime and when it's warm, and I'm not going to be driving this car when it's winter. I'm going to be honest with myself. It's not going to be driven in the wintertime. And since I don't have an oil cooler on it, that 50 weight should break down, but it shouldn't break down as bad as 30 weight does. I mean, I'm telling you, I took the cap out, and it was just like, it looked like water was pouring out. And I didn't have a good feeling with that. So I took the oil drain plug out, and it was just water. I mean, if just that's what it felt like, but it was oil, and there was no fuel in it. I smelled it and make sure there's no fuel in it. There was no fuel in it. It was just too watery. So it's like I said, I was one of those things that I could have stepped it up like stepped it up to 1040 just to see if possibly that was a problem. But I said, 2050, let's throw 2050 in it. It has bigger oil clearances in the connecting rods and in the main bearings, so they're all bigger oil clearances. They're not super big like a 2050 need to fill those gaps. But I figured since I don't have an oil cooler, once this oil gets hot, it is gonna break down. It's not gonna boil. It's not gonna get hot enough to boil. I know it sucks the fact that I have to do this, because I really wanted to do the. At first, I had stock oil clearances. When I first built it, it had stock oil clearances, and I noticed that a few of them were touching down already. So that's what made me change. You know, something told me, you know what, just put bigger oil clearances, because if it's touching now, and we were just pushing like 20 pounds or whatever, and it wasn't crazy touchdown, like it was just a slight touchdown. So I was feeling like, since that thing was already touching down, it's probably best to have bigger oil clearances, so that way it gives it a little bit of cushion when you're making power. And I didn't really think about how it would affect the oil. Alright guys, so today I took the car out, got on the highway and just start ripping it, you know, just tuning some things. Actually, I gotta turn this data log off. Give me a second here. Let me pause this real quick. I've been driving for maybe an hour and a half, maybe an hour, and the oil pressure is now stable. You know, I am running 2050, but it does have bigger oil clearances and everything, so it's where it probably should have had 2050 oil from the beginning, because it has bigger oil clearances. It's not bigger, like crazy bigger, but they're just big enough that it would require some bigger, some thicker oil. I think I could have probably got away with using 1040. If it's really cold out, I'd probably use 1040 and just use that. But you know, I think the 2050 is exceeding what I needed to do. It's right now, like I said, I've been driving for an hour, and at cruising, say around 3,000 RPMs, I'm still in fifth gear, so I could probably, you know, upshift it, but it's running around 66 psi of oil pressure, which is good. And when it goes up on boost, it really cranks it and starts kicking like 70, 80 psi of oil pressure while boosting. Yeah, so I'm going to drive the car back home. I think most of the testing have been done today. even did some anti-lag today, which I probably shouldn't have done, but fuck it, you know. it was fun, you know. So yeah, I'm gonna take the car home, let it cool down, relax, and yeah, we're just gonna enjoy the rest of the car, you know. I don't know if I'm gonna put the bumper back on just yet. Still debating on that one, but we'll see. Alright guys, so thanks for watching. Hope this was a little fun. Just a few videos of little rips.